The night before Issus. Nobody slept. Some men sharpened swords. Others prayed. Others pretended they weren't afraid. I sat beside a dying fire and watched the darkness. Somewhere beyond it was Darius, King of Kings, Master of Asia, Lord of an empire older than memory. For months, he had been a name. Tomorrow, he would be a man. The morning arrived far too quickly. Men always want more time before battle. Then battle begins, and they want less. The sun rose over the mountains. The sea glittered beside us. And between the two armies, a narrow plain. A very narrow plain. The sort of place where fate makes decisions. The Persians seemed endless. Every hill carried banners. Every open space contained soldiers, horsemen, archers, infantry. More men than I had ever seen gathered in one place. A young recruit beside me whispered,
"How many are there?"
A veteran answered,
"Enough."
That was all. Enough. Then Alexander appeared, riding along the line. No speech, no dramatic performance, no promises. He simply rode, looking at us, meeting our eyes. One man later claimed he touched his shoulder. Another claimed Alexander remembered his name. Both were probably lying. Yet somehow every man felt the king had spoken directly to him. That was one of his gifts. The order came. Forward. The line moved. Thousands of men. One step, then another. The river ahead grew closer. The Persians waited. The entire world seemed to hold its breath. Then everything happened at once. Arrows, water, mud, screaming. The river that had seemed so small from a distance suddenly felt enormous. Men slipped, fell, drowned, fought. The Persians defended fiercely, harder than at Granicus, much harder. For a moment, it seemed they might stop us. Then Alexander found his opening. He always did. That was the frightening thing. Other men looked for weaknesses. Alexander seemed to smell them. The companion cavalry shifted, turned, accelerated. And suddenly, we were no longer attacking the army. We were attacking the king. I saw him, only briefly. A chariot, royal guards, banners. A man standing taller than everyone around him. Darius, the great king. After all the stories, after all the rumors, there he was, a human being. Alexander lowered his spear. We followed. Faster, faster. The distance disappeared. Persian guards rushed forward. Men died. Horses fell. The world became dust. And somewhere inside that chaos, the two kings were moving toward one another. Years later, men would ask, how close did Alexander come? Close. Very close. Close enough to see the royal position. Close enough to throw a spear. Close enough for history to change. Then suddenly, Darius was gone. The royal chariot abandoned. The king fleeing east. The moment had passed. The greatest prize in the world had slipped away. At first, nobody realized it. Then the Persian line began to crumble. Slowly, then rapidly, then everywhere. The battle was won. The great king had fled. The empire had blinked. And Alexander had survived. Again. As evening approached, we entered the Persian camp. I expected treasure, gold, silk, jewels. The rewards soldiers dream about. There was plenty of that. But that isn't what I remember. What I remember were the tents, the silence, the realization that this had not merely been an army, it had been a home, a moving city, families, servants, children, lives. Word spread quickly. The royal family had been captured. Darius's mother, his wife, his daughters, the most important women in the empire. Many expected celebration. Others expected revenge. History offered many examples. Victorious kings were rarely gentle. Then Alexander entered the royal tent. I wasn't inside. Few were. But stories travel quickly through camps. The women had heard Darius was dead. Some were already mourning. Some were already weeping. Then Alexander reportedly told them, "Darius lives." Imagine that moment. Imagine learning your husband still lives. Imagine hearing it from the man who defeated him. That night, the camp buzzed with stories. Not about the battle, not about treasure, about Alexander. The women would be protected. The royal family would be treated with dignity. No humiliation, no revenge, no cruelty. At least, none that day. Some men were disappointed, others impressed. I simply found it interesting, because I had spent years learning what powerful men do when they win. And this was not it. I thought about Darius, riding through the darkness, wondering whether his family lived, wondering whether he would ever see them again. And I thought about Alexander, standing victorious in the royal tent, choosing mercy when nobody could force him to. For the first time, I realized something. This war was becoming stranger. The Persians were not monsters. The Macedonians were not heroes. The world was far more complicated than the stories we told ourselves. The battle was over. The road south lay open. The great king had escaped. But the empire had been wounded. Badly. Around the campfires, men spoke of the end of Persia, the end of the war, the end of Darius. Alexander knew better. So did the veterans. Empires do not die in a day. Kings do not surrender because of one defeat. Somewhere beyond the deserts, Darius was gathering strength. Somewhere beyond the mountains, another army was forming. And somewhere ahead, a city stood upon an island, rich, proud, ancient. A city that believed itself unconquerable. Its name was Tyre. And it was about to discover what happens when it tells Alexander no.